Hope you guys are doing well out there. We got the radio show and the what do we call this? The social media show. We got them started at two different times, and so I apologize for that. But now we're synced up, we're ready to go. Hope you guys are doing great. All you guys on the radio, I'm sorry for last night. We lost you. We were kind of just cutting in and out and back and forth, and then we lost you in the show, and so I apologize for that. I think those guys are working really hard, and they do a good job. And I think Bob's got it all worked out tonight. So we think we're gonna be able to stay with you the whole time tonight and not get cut off from last night. But you could go back. You guys that are on the radio, you could go back to the Walk by Faith radio page, Walk by Faith radio Facebook page, or you can go by the Walk by Faith Twitter account if you guys are X account, and watch the shows. They've both been shared right there. We had a really good show last night about vitamin D, and so we're going to follow up tonight. And tonight is going to be a show about vitamin K. It's going to be there's two topics I want to cover tonight, but one of them is going to be about vitamin K because I had a lot of questions this week after we did the conversations about vitamin D, and people want to know what like vitamin K, what is K, and why do we need it, and what does it have anything to do with anything? And so this is going to be kind of a study night. I've got my textbook right here, The Biochemical and Physiological Aspects of Human Nutrition is one of my textbooks that I have on that. It's got a whole chapter on vitamin K. And so we're going to take a textbook look at the whole thing. I want to know it because it's been a while since I've reviewed it. You know, as you go through some of this stuff and you break it all down, and at some point I broke down most of this stuff, and then what happens is you just know, hey, look, it goes with vitamin D. Vitamin D and K go together. I've already done the research on it, and this is how it works. Well, after a few years go by with that, you kind of lose your touch of all the intricacies of those things because you just know that's how it works, and you're so busy taking care of people, and so this is going to be a great refresher course for me too. I'm going to enjoy it tonight. So that's what we're going to get into. But the first part is something that this last about 36 hours of my life has been really, really interesting. And I want to share it with you tonight. And it may take up this whole first segment of me sharing it, and maybe not. As soon as I get it off my chest, I will we'll just move along and go to the next thing. So the I got a YouTube video sent to me. You guys know, a lot of you guys know my background. I played college football here at Texas Tech. I grew up in Roswell, New Mexico. I played quarterback in high school. We won 2 state championships in high school. We were 26-2 my junior and senior year with back-to-back state championships. We had a good football team in New Mexico at that time. I played in a lot of football games before I got to Texas Tech. And I went to Eastern New Mexico for a year, and then I walked on at Tech and earned a scholarship, worked my way up. I was like the 13th or 14th quarterback on the depth chart when I got there, and I worked my way all the way up to number 2. And then against SMU in 1992, our starter, Robert Hall, who was an awesome guy and a good friend of mine, Robert got hurt, and so I became the starter at Texas Tech. And my first start was against Texas. And they beat us 44-33, but we had a pretty good game. And there was some things that I remembered about that game. At least I thought I did. I thought I remembered some of the things about that game. Well, what happened was, I'm a friend of Mike Gustafson, and you guys might know Gus. I've known him since I came to Tech. He was working in the weight room that first year in the fall of '90 when I walked on, and I've known Mike for 30-something years now, and so he sent me that game on YouTube. I didn't even know it was on YouTube. I haven't seen that game, I guess, I guess I haven't seen that game in 30 years. Like this will be the 34th season, I think, since that 33rd or 34th season since we played that game in '92. Yeah, I think 33rd maybe. And I don't remember seeing it. If I did see it really wouldn't matter if I remembered seeing it or not once I tell you this story, because uh, but I've talked about it a lot in my lifetime. I've relived it a lot in my lifetime. I've had conversation after conversation after conversation about it over the last 30 years. People talk to me about it. I set a school record of pass attempts. I threw 52 passes. That's the most that any quarterback at Texas Tech had thrown in a Southwest Conference game in the history of our school. And so that kind of gets people talk about stuff like that. And I try not to live them. I try not to live like Uncle Rico or or whatever in the past. But I had a way that I thought that game went. And if you would have gotten me yesterday, 2 days ago, if you would have gotten me 2 days ago on Tuesday, and you would have given me a pen and a yellow pad, and you would have made me write down how that game went, I would have told you that we kicked off to them, and no, I would have told you they kicked off to us, and we on our first play we dropped the ball and they ran it into the end zone and they scored a touchdown, and then they kicked off to us again, and they kicked a line drive and it went right and hit Zach Thomas. You guys from around here, y'all know Zach, and he just got it into the Hall of Fame. But Zach was a second year player, maybe, or a freshman that year. No, he's a true freshman that year. And he was right in the middle of the kickoff team. And they just kicked. They weren't trying to kick an onside kick. They just kicked a line drive, and it just happened to hit Zach in the knee, and then it bounced up, and Texas got the ball back. And then they went down and kicked the field goal, and it was 10-0 before we ran one play, and then all of a sudden it was 10-0, and we just never could catch them for the rest of the game. We would get close, and then they would score again. We would get close, and they would score again. And that's what I would have written down. That's what I remember about that game. I watched that game yesterday, and I watched it again this morning. That is nothing like what happened in the first two series of the game. That's not what happened. What happened was we kicked off to them. They went down and kicked a field goal. They were in the lead 3-0, and then they kicked off to us, and we went down the field and scored a touchdown. On our opening drive, we marched down the field. I think we went 80 yards. I don't know. And we had the lead 7-3. And then we kicked off to them. I think they got another field goal. Now it's 7-6. And then when they kicked off that time, that's the time it hit Zach in the leg. And then they got the ball back, but they missed their field goal. They didn't get any points out of that at all. I don't know. It was so funny. It was so amazing. And every study that I've ever listened to about memory, every article that I've ever read about memory, every TED Talk that I've listened to about memory, every single one of them has said the same exact thing. That the further you get away from the event, the less you recall the event the way it really was. And I promise you, I would have sworn on a stack of Bibles that that's the way that game went. I would have written down play after play after play. I would have written down play after play about what was going on out there. And it was so funny because that's not what happened. It's not what happened. That is not the way that the game went. My memory, I bet I would have got 25% of it right. And I think that's just so crazy because I would have sworn to you that's what happened. I would have been like, look, you don't know what you're talking about. I lived that game. I know exactly what happened out there. I don't know why you guys are acting like I don't know. One of the biggest plays, and you guys that are on the radio, I'm fixing to draw this on the board, but for the last 30 years, and I do have a point to this story, by the way, but for the last 30 years, we ran an option play into a blitz. And in my brain, I had it in my brain that we were lined up in a 4 wide receiver set and that I was supposed to pitch off the end, and however they lined up over there. And the free safety walked across. His name was Lance Gunn, number 16, and he walked over the top of this right here, and this guy blitzed. The guy that's covering our guy, Daryl Mitchell, number 11, Mookie Mitchell, was right there. And then we were going to slip on that end to block that guy, and then we were going to run these guys off. So our 2 outside receivers just run those guys off, and this was going to all happen. And I just thought, really, that this guy might run that post and run into that guy. So for 30 years, I would have sworn to you, I would have cussed at you if you would have told me different. That what happened, I knew I was supposed to check out of that play, and I didn't check out of the play, and I ran the play into the blitz anyway, and Mookie was supposed to block that guy, but that guy was blitzing, so he missed it, and I pitched off the end. I pitched the ball like that, and that guy came out here and tackled him in the backfield, and we didn't make a first down, and then we kicked a field goal and missed it. And that was the difference in the game. If we could have scored a touchdown right there instead of missing a field goal, then we probably would have had a chance to beat Texas that day, and my whole life would have been different, and it would have been so great and all that. And I wish I would have checked out of that play, and I wish I would have run that play right. And I just can't believe that is I knew I was supposed to do it, but I didn't do it. And you don't know how many times in the last 30 years I've had this conversation about, why didn't I do that? I knew I was supposed to check out of that play and not run that into that blitz. And I don't know why I did it, even though I knew I was supposed to do it. And I felt guilty about I felt guilty about that play. I have stressed out about that play. I was like, and dadgummit, you knew you were supposed to do it, but you didn't do it. Well, this morning I watched that play, and that is not what happened. First of all, we weren't in that set. We were in a totally different set. We had 2 backs in the backfield. And Mookie was right there, number 11. He was right there. But his guy was standing right over the top of him. This other guy was already on the line of scrimmage, that safety, and that end. And there's the backer. We put this guy in motion. We had one more receiver, and he ran out this way. And these guys blocked down, and this tackle slipped in, and he missed that linebacker. He didn't even block him, and neither one of these guys on the end were blocked. And I dropped back and attacked them, and we went this way, and I pitched off of them, and neither one of them made the play. They weren't even in the play at all. And Bam Morris, who I thought had gotten hurt in the first quarter and didn't come back into the game for the whole game, I thought Bam was out. I thought he got hurt and never played the rest of the game. It's so funny because that was Bam right there that caught that pitch. He came out. He might have missed 1 series or 2 series and came right back in the game and played most of the game. It was like, I didn't remember that. I didn't remember that happening at all. And what happened was these guys came out here and nobody blocked that linebacker, and so Bam didn't have any place to turn up. And my wide receivers were blocking these guys out there, and so he was trying to run away from the linebacker, and then he ended up getting tackled, and we didn't make the first down. But then we kicked the field goal, and we made the field goal, and we got back within 3 points or 2 points. I was in the fourth quarter, I think. No, this happened in the third quarter when all this happened. But we were right there with them. And we got to the fourth quarter. It was 29-27 in the fourth quarter. We were right in the game the whole time. What is the point of this story? Why am I? What is it? Why am I so? Why is it laughing about this? And what is the point of this story? What am I trying to say? Man, what a lesson this has been for me. And you would think I would have figured this out by now. I know Leslie does. She's like, oh my gosh, I've been trying to tell you this for 30 years, 31 years we've been married. We got married the next season. In the summer of 93, we got married right after that football season. And she's been trying to tell me, like, dude, would you quit stressing out about things that happened in the past and just move along? Just move along to the next thing. And you know how we talk about right side and left side brain, and you know how we talk about how your left side brain will lie to you. Your left side brain thinks it knows it all. Your left side brain is cocky and arrogant and thinks it knows it all. And it will lie. It will just take a piece of information, and because it doesn't know all the details, it'll just make something up, and it will just lie to you. And my left brain has been lying to me for 30 years about that football game. That play in particular, that I would have sworn to you that that's the way we ran that play. It had some similarities. I did run that play into a blitz. I might have should have checked out, but my not checking out had nothing to do with the outcome of the play. It had nothing to do with the outcome of the play. It had nothing to do with the outcome of the game. We made the field goal. We're right in the game. We still got 8-9 minutes to go, and we're only down 2 points. It was in the third quarter. It had nothing to do with anything, but I made it up in my head that it had something to do with it. And I just wondered. I wanted to share this story with you because I just wondered how many of you have done that same thing. How many of you remember something that happened and have some sort of emotional charge about it? And it actually does affect the way that your life runs. It affects your outlook on yourself. It affects your relationship with your spouse. It affects the way you feel about your I was mad at my defense for 30 years. You know what? We lost the game by 11 points. We, on offense, gave away 10. We gave away 11 points. We fumbled the ball and they ran it into the end zone. That was 7. We fumbled the ball again on about our 25-yard line and gave them a field goal. That was 10. And then we went for 2 and didn't make it. And that was another point that we lost right there. We lost the game by 11 points, and the offense gave away 11 points. I should probably write a personal letter to all of my defensive guys that were out there at that time. There was a bunch of those guys out there too. Ben Kirkpatrick and Mike Licio and Sean. I can't believe he broke my shoulder the year before. Sean Jackson, Bart Thomas, Zach Thomas, Chris Kennedy. There was a bunch of guys. Donnie Marshall's out there playing corner. Tracy Saul was out there playing free safety. I apologize to all those guys. And none of them care. Nobody's gonna listen to this show. But it's like, man, I'm the reason. I could have won that game. Just by myself, I could have done better. I don't have anybody to blame for that loss except for myself. It's sure not Coach Dykes' fault. It's not Coach Winter's fault. It's my own deal. But I'm not going to go back. I'm not going to go back now and get stressed out about it because it had more to do with me than it did. But I didn't really play that bad. I watched it. I was like, there's a few plays I wish I'd have had back. There was a few drops that we had in key times. But I cannot believe the profound lesson that I've learned from that in the last 36 hours. It's blown my mind to think that what you think happened 30 years ago, most likely. Now, I'm not saying if you had some sort of major trauma or something like that, but I really do think maybe even in major trauma, maybe in some sort of depressive thing, maybe what you think the way that it went down. There's a bunch of things I could go through in my life of the way that I define them. There's a bunch of things that I could talk about that of the way that I think they went down. And you know what? If I had a video, what Leslie said this morning, she said, the sad thing is that most people don't have a video that someone can send them 30 years later so that they can actually see what happened on that day or see what happened and re-jog their memory. Most people don't have that video. But I was so lucky that Gus, I didn't even know that thing existed, I don't think. But he sent that to me and I watched that game and I just was like, wow, what would I do with all the energy that I wasted thinking about that play? What would I do with all of the energy I wasted thinking about that whole game and how it could have been different and all the things that I thought happened during the game? And what's the outcome of that? The outcome of that is nothing that I can figure out that moves me forward. I just wanted to share it with you. If you got something in your life that you've been fretting about for 30 years, you might just consider the fact that your left brain is lying to you and it's not exactly like you thought it was. The sequences are going to be off. There was plays that I ran we were on the field just a few weeks ago down at Jones Stadium on the field and I told Leslie, I said, yeah, I bounced a pass over there to Curtis Hudson right there and on that sideline. I watched that play this morning. It was on the totally opposite sideline. And it wasn't on the last series. It was like in 2 series from the last series. And we went and scored another touchdown. I was thinking that was one of my last throws of the game. And I was tired and I bounced it to him. And I didn't have enough energy. And I've been guilty. I always hated myself for not spending enough time in the weight room in the summer. And when it counted, I was fatigued. It got down to the end of the fourth quarter and I was fatigued and I couldn't get the throw out there. And I didn't have enough energy to get the throw out there, so I bounced it out there to him. That is completely false. That thought process is completely false. That was 3 series before the end of the game. On the last series of the game, I'm throwing a ball just as good as I did in the first series. The second to this last series of the game, I threw a touchdown pass to Lloyd. On the last series of the game, I threw a pass, hit Donnie Marshall on a slant route right in his chest. I wasn't tired at the end of that game. We didn't lose that game because I was fatigued. I just made that up. My left brain just made that up and lied to me and carried that with me. I'm not emotionally unstable, I don't think. But maybe after listening to this story, you might think I am. Maybe I need to take some more fish oil or, go for more walks or something like that. But it's not how it happened. And if you had a film of what happened 30 years ago in your life and you watch that film again, you might discover it's not what you thought. It really didn't happen that way. And so now what I've been thinking about all day long is what if I was just to turn around and just go forward? What if I just went forward in love and friendship and enthusiasm and have a great attitude and just appreciate today and look forward till tomorrow instead of fretting about what happened 30 years ago? I have so much. It's almost like a weight just got taken off of me, and it's almost inspiring to think about that. And I know all you genius people that already figured this out, because Leslie's just shaking her head. She's like, I can't believe I've been trying to tell you this for years. It's like I'm looking forward to it. I'm actually looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to just moving on. I don't know if I'll like orange now. I'm not saying that I'm going to go that far and actually eat off of an orange plate or, have an orange razor or something like that. No, I still don't think that's going to happen. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think we're going that far. But I was like, hey, it's not as bad as I thought. Okay, that's all of that. With that, we're coming up on the break. As soon as we get back from the break, we'll talk about vitamin K. I hope you guys will stick around with us. We'll be right back. This is Life with Jason Clemmons, DC, and we're on 98.7 Walk by Faith Radio. We'll be right back right after these messages. Yeah, there was some throws in that game that I wish I had back. That there's a few of them I threw in the ground or I overthrew them or something like that. We didn't throw any interceptions. We should have on the last play of the game. I hit somebody right in the hands and he dropped it. But if we threw 52 passes, I think we completed 25 or 6 of them. We scored 33 points. We gave the other team 11. It's really not like we lost the game because they were better than us. I mean, and you would think they were the number 25 team in the country. There was 50-something thousand. It was the largest crowd. It was 1982, and it was the largest crowd since 1983. And so in 9 years, Jones Stadium was packed. It was a great, beautiful day. It was Halloween, and it was just overall. We just played it, and we made some mistakes, and they won the game. It's no big deal. It's like, hey, it's just the way it goes. Sometimes you do that. Take those mistakes back, take those 2 fumbles back that we had, and take about a couple of those overthrows that I had. We probably beat those guys by 14 points. It's probably how it would have ended up. So, no worries. I know. I'm just sitting here by myself in the studio talking about a football game that happened 33 years ago and learning from it. Learning a lesson from something that happened 33 years ago. It's pretty awesome. And I told Leslie, I was like, you could. She was wanting to get married. She was wanting to know if I was going to ask her if we were going to get married. And I was like, I had the entire university system on my shoulders. They were kind of counting on me for this little 4-week season that I had while Robert was getting his shoulder fixed. And it's like, I wasn't thinking about getting married. I was thinking about beating Texas. Like, seriously, I was. And so maybe she could cut me a little slack right there. All right, here we go. We're coming back. Okay, everybody, we're back. This is Life with Jason Clemmons, DC. Thanks for letting me get that off my chest and share that story with you guys on the first half of the show. That was kind of fun, and I thought it would be a fun story to kind of break up a little bit. Now let's get into some vitamin K. And this next half of the show is going to be technical. It's going to be study time. I'm going to be working right out of this textbook right here to just there's going to be some big words that I'm not even going to be able to pronounce. But I wanted to share with you because I did a talk over at the Wise Group on Tuesday night, and we talked about vitamin D and how important it was for us to transition into the fall and make sure that we're getting enough vitamin D. And one of the questions was, what about K? And when are you supposed to take vitamin K? And what is vitamin K? And how do at what point do you do that? And a lot of times when you're almost all of them, like we get our vitamin D from Metagenics. And and 5,000 to 10,000 IUs is what we take here in the office. And that's what we take at home is 5,000 IUs, and it'll when you read that, and it's like, do we need the vitamin K? Should we be taking it with vitamin K? Uh, and how much is it? Do we, what are we supposed to do with the vitamin K? And let me see. I'm trying to find it right here. Yeah, the 10,000 comes with vitamin K in it. So if you're taking the 10,000 from Metagenics, you'll get the vitamin K. So it gets up there, and that's a lot for, especially in the medical world. I had the conversation this morning about, well, if my nurses that I know, if the people that know in the medical field, they're like, if you were saying that you took 10,000 IUs of vitamin K a day, that they would flip out and they would just go crazy. And I've had that happen. I've had that happen a lot. I've had a lot of patients not know what to do because they're like, should I take that much vitamin D or should I not take that much vitamin D? And we referenced it last night on the show, and we referenced the Dr. Campbell, John Campbell, in his videos that you guys can go back and look in the references of the two doctors that wrote the books that I was talking about last night. But let's just read some of this vitamin K stuff, and let's just see what it says and what it's all about, and we'll kind of get into this. So, and in the early 1930s, Danish nutritional biochemist Henrik Dam, I don't know, was attempting to demonstrate that cholesterol was a dietary essential. He fed chicks a diet he had formulated to be low in fat and deficient in cholesterol, and noted that the chicks developed a hemorrhagic syndrome where they were bleeding internally, right? Addition of cholesterol to the diet did not cure the syndrome, and Dom, 1934, soon realized that in removing cholesterol from the diet, he had also removed another essential factor. The hemorrhagic condition could be cured by the addition of alfalfa meal to the diet or by administration of a lipid extract of green plants. Efforts were then directed towards isolating and characterizing the factors exhibiting this response. In 1939, a series of investigations led by Dom in Denmark, someone else at Berkeley, and someone else at St. Louis University had established that the form of the vitamin found in alfalfa, now called vitamin K, or phyloquinone, had a certain makeup. And vitamin K is not potassium. On the periodic table, if you look on the periodic table and you're looking for potassium, then it's K. But it's not so if you're looking on the periodic table, so this could easily confuse somebody, because right here, if you go over there and you look and it says K, that's the abbreviation for potassium on the periodic table. That is not vitamin K. That is not what we're talking about when we're talking about taking vitamin K. That's what we're talking about is a totally different vitamin, and it's found in alfalfa, and it's phyloquinone. It's 2-methyl-3-phyto-1,4-naphthoquinone. It doesn't matter. It's a long word, right? Bacterial forms of the vitamin, a series of different metaquinones with an unsaturated side chain that were originally called vitamin K2, subsequently were characterized. These investigations led to the sharing of the Nobel Prize in Medicine by Dom and Doisy in 1941. The hemorrhagic condition that resulted from the dietary lack of vitamin K was originally thought to be due solely to lower concentrations of the plasma clotting factor prothrombin, factor 2. But it was later shown that the synthesis of clotting factors 7, 9, and 10 was also depressed in the deficient state. So that's one of the things that vitamin K does for us is it helps us clot. And if we're that's the thing, if you take the vitamin K out of the diet, then you're going to have a problem, and they're going to have a hemorrhagic problem where you're bleeding internally, and that's what happened to these mice that they were working with. The biochemical events involved in the production of vitamin K dependent proteins were not elucidated for another 30 years. The 4 hydroxycoumarins were identified in the 1940s as vitamin K antagonists. That's where you get your warfarin and your coumadin, and that's where it's rat poison. That's what warfarin is. It's rat poison, and you use it you give it to rats, and then they bleed to death internally, and that's why they die. So they were found to be useful as rodenticides and also became widely used clinical anticoagulants. The use of warfarin and other 4 hydrocoumarins are experimentally regulated to experimentally regulate the production of vitamin K dependent proteins was an important tool in the study of vitamin K action. So they'll actually do that they'll put you on one of those if you're having you got to take Coumadin after you've had a stent in your heart, something like that, so that your blood doesn't clot. Right? That's the point of it. But it came about as a rodenticide, like you kill rats with it, and that's how you do it. The lack of general understanding of the mechanism of protein biosynthesis prevented serious experimental approaches to the cellular and molecular mechanisms involved in the synthesis of vitamin K dependent proteins until the mid 1960s. By the early 1970s, it had been shown that vitamin was one of the substrates required for the microsomal enzymes involved in the intracellular conversion of inactive precursors of the vitamin K dependent proteins to their active forms. You can go back and listen to that if you want to. If you really want to, you can go back and listen to that. The enzyme catalyzed the conversion of specific glutamyl residues. These are long words. In these proteins. The biochemical role of vitamin K was therefore analogous of that of the coenzyme derived from one of the water-soluble vitamins. By the early 1990s, the enzyme using K was a cofactor and had been isolated and characterized. So it doesn't really matter what it's called. Compounds with vitamin K activity have these specific names. Originally called vitamin K1 is the form isolated from green plants, and it has a phytyl group at the 3 position of the naphthoquinone ring. The bacterially synthesized forms of the vitamin originally were called vitamin K2 and are now more properly designated as menaquinones. These forms of the vitamin have an unsaturated position, although the wide range of menaquinones, abbreviated MKN, are synthesized by bacteria. Long-chain menaquinones with 6 to 10 groups in the side chain are the most common. The synthetic compound was shown very early to have vitamin K activity and commonly is used as a source of the vitamin in animal feeds. So it doesn't really affect us. Sources of vitamin K. Reliable estimates of the vitamin K content of foods has been available only recently. So, what can we eat that's going to help us get vitamin K? Available data that previously summarized in various nutritional texts and reviews were obtained from chick biological assays of the vitamin K contents of food before a substantial standard was available and should be used with a great deal of caution. Methodology for the analysis of foods and their vitamins, the vitamin K content, by lipid extraction followed high performance and is now available. A large number of foods and edible oils have been analyzed, and these modern methods, a good estimate of the vitamin K content of a wide range of foods are now available. In general, green leafy vegetables are the major source of these phytoquinone in the diet, and foods such as kale, spinach, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, cabbage, and lettuce are excellent sources of the vitamin. That's why they tell you to, like, if they're trying to get your blood not to clot, don't eat your green leafy vegetables. But if you'd eat your green leafy vegetables before you get sick, then you probably are not going to have any of that sickness that goes along with having to be told not to eat green leafy vegetables. If it's too late, then you can talk to your doctor about that. Um, these foods contain in excess of 100 micrograms of phytoquinone per 100 grams of fresh weight. Whereas most commonly consumed green vegetables, such as peas and green beans, furnish between 10 and 50 grams for fresh weight. Some cooking oils, chiefly soybean oils, rapeseed, which is canola, and a lesser extent of olive oil, are also good sources and are major contributors to the total daily intake of vitamin K. Liver provides a significant dietary intake of menaquinones, but except for liver and a few specialized fermented foods and cheese products, a major form of vitamin K in the diet is phytoquinone of plant origin. So mostly where we're getting our vitamin K is to eat our green leafy vegetables. Now, if you're taking vitamin K, if you're taking lots of vitamin D, you need your vitamin K to tell you what you're supposed to do with it. Okay? So I'm going to skip down just a little bit and see if we can get into that, because that's kind of what I wanted. One of the things I wanted to share today was, what does it have to do with vitamin D? And let me see, because this may or may not give us. This gets really into the biochemistry in these next few pages, and I really wanted to look that up. And you guys are not going to want me to read all of that. There's the page on warfarin right there. Talks about vitamin K deficiency. Although a primary vitamin K deficiency is uncommon in the adult human population, a vitamin K responsive hemorrhagic disease of the newborn is a rare but long recognized syndrome. Vitamin K stores in the newborn are low because poor placental transfer of the vitamin and the sterile gut precludes any possible production and utilization of menaquinones during early life. These conditions are complicated by general hyperprothrombotemia in infants caused by the inability of immature liver to synthesize normal levels of clotting factor. The breastfed infant is a particular risk. The vitamin K content of breast milk is less than that of cow's milk, and of low intake of milk by nursing infants has been shown to be a strong contributing factor in the development of vitamin K deficiency in the newborn. Now, you got to be talking about a different. Don't let that fool you. If you're not producing milk and your child is not getting nutrients, then that's the time where cow's milk might be appropriate, right? But not that's the only time that it might be appropriate. If you're deficient in nutrients, a Coke is appropriate. Like if you're about to starve to death and you need some sort of nutrients and you got nothing, it'd be better than nothing. You'd have to break it down and all that sort of thing. Commercial infant formulas are now routinely supplemented with vitamin K, and the American Academy of Pediatrics has recommended intramuscular administration of phytoquinone at birth as routine prophylaxis. The practice of oral or intramuscular administration of vitamin K to the newborn is almost universal in developed countries, but hemorrhagic disease remains a potential problem for breastfed infants in some areas of the world, especially if the moms are malnourished. That might be a problem, but I don't think that is a problem in the United States. And and I think I think that's part of something that you're talking about intramuscular. If they're going to give you a shot of vitamin K, I don't remember exactly what happens in the hospital at birth, but apparently they're probably administering some of that in some form. The most common condition known to result in vitamin K responsive hemorrhagic event in the adult is the low dietary intake of vitamin K by a patient who is also receiving antibiotics. These cases are numerous, which suggest that patients with restricted food intake who are also receiving antibiotics should be closely observed for signs of vitamin K deficiency. These episodes historically have been attributed to an interference of antibiotics with the microbial synthesis of metaquinones in the gut, but eventually the substrate, this effect is lacking. Vitamin K deficiency also has been reported in patients subject to long-term total parental nutrition, um, and supplementation of the vitamin is advised under those circumstances. Supplementation of, in this case, of biliary obstruction also is advisable. Depression of vitamin K dependent coagulation factors frequent has been found malabsorption syndromes. You can get your blood tested for vitamin K. Let's talk about proteins found in bone and other tissues. The first vitamin K dependent protein was discovered that was not located in plasma, was isolated from bone, and contained 3 GLA residues. It is the second most abundant protein in bone and is called osteocalcin, or bone GLA protein. There's little structural um, homology between this protein and the vitamin K dependent plasma proteins. The demonstration that the level of osteocalcin in plasma is altered in some metabolic bone diseases has opened possible clinic implications and often measured as a diagnostic tool. It's not what I'm really. I want to get before we run out of time. Um, I don't have my Guyton physiology book. I left it at home, which you should be proud of me for that. That I have my Guyton physiology book at home, but let me see if I can get a different article for us. To kind of give us a little bit of, a little bit better. This is I just searched NIH right quick. The synergistic interplay between vitamin D and K for bone and cardiovascular health. This is the abstract. These were done. You can look that up if you want to. This is in the International Journal of Endocrinology. It looks like 2017. Vitamin D and K are both fat-soluble vitamins and play a central role in calcium metabolism. Vitamin D promotes the production of vitamin K-dependent proteins, which require vitamin K for carboxylation in order to function properly. The purpose of this review is to summarize the available evidence of the synergistic interplay between vitamin D and K. See if we can get down. Vitamin D is a fat-soluble vitamin that can be ingested by foods such as fatty fish, dairy products, and eggs, but is mainly synthesized by the human skin when exposed to sunlight. We talked about that last night. In the liver, vitamin D is hydroxylated to 25-OHD, and the main circulating vitamin D metabolite that is measured to assess and classify vitamin D status. Circulating 25-OHD is further metabolized by the kidney for full biological activity into its most active form of 125-D. We know that from last night, known as calcitrol. Calcitrol is also produced endogenously by extrarenal production through peripheral 1 hydroxylase. You don't want to care about that. and effects on the immune function and anti-cancer activity. Vitamin D plays a role in regulating calcium metabolism by increasing intestinal calcium absorption. Ample evidence recommends vitamin D supplementation for the prevention of falls and fractures. However, evidence suggests calcium precipitation in the vasculature and other potential side effects. Vitamin K is another fat-soluble vitamin that exists in two forms of vitamin K. Vitamin K1, which is the phytoquinone, mainly found in green leafy vegetables, and vitamin K2 is metaquinone, mainly found in fermented dairy and produced by lactic acid bacteria in the intestine. So that's K1 and K2, if you're looking for that. K1 is mainly found in your green leafy vegetables. K2 is basically made by bacteria in the intestine. Vitamin K stores are limited, but they can be recycled to a certain extent. Vitamin K1 is principally transported to the liver, regulating the production of coagulating factors, while vitamin K2 is transported to extrahepatic tissue, such as bone and the vascular wall, regulating the activity of matrix GLA protein and osteocalcin, the main vitamin K dependent proteins. They require vitamin K for carboxylation in order to function properly. When circulating concentrations of vitamin K are insufficient, a greater proportion of this MGP and osteocalcin remain uncarboxylated, which is associated with unfavorable outcomes such as cardiovascular disease, lower BMD, what they're using for that, and osteoporosis. Insufficient vitamin K. The current recommendation for vitamin K1 intake is 70 micrograms for all adults, defined by adequate intake. The amount is solely based on maintaining coagulation function and might not be enough for optimal vitamin K function. The role of vitamin K in cardiovascular health has mainly been studied in isolation. However, a growing body of evidence suggests a synergistic effect of vitamin K combined with vitamin D promotes the production of vitamin K-dependent proteins, as shown in rats already in 1985. These findings cannot be explained by our current understanding of the biochemical role of vitamin K, but suggest that vitamin D may influence vitamin K-dependent proteins. I've always understood vitamin K to be how you what you're going to do with your calcium. Recent understanding suggests that vitamin D enhances vitamin K-dependent bone protein concentration and induces bone formation in vitro with stimulation of osteoblast-specific gene expression. Osteoblast-specific expression of osteocalcin is controlled at the transcriptional level by the active form 125-OHD. The underlying mechanism of mineralization induced by vitamin K in the presence of vitamin D was different from vitamin K alone. In rats, if you had the 125-OHD receptor binding can undergo carboxylation in the presence of vitamin K. This means that OHD receptors can potentially modify the intrinsic biomechanical properties of nuclear receptors and modulate its binding to the DNA. I'm going to break this down some more overnight, and we'll get back tomorrow with you. That's the end of the show. So we'll get back tomorrow with you and make that more clear. I wanted to study it a little bit tonight, and so thanks for sitting in there with me. I know that second half was kind of boring. Hope you guys have a great night. Thanks for watching the show. We'll talk to you tomorrow.